Hi, friends. Have you ever been confused about creator and created? Let me explain. I was with some kids today and I asked them this question about art class. Who likes art class? And of course, all their hands went up, they love art. And I asked, oh, what are you doing in art? What are you creating? And they told me about self-portraits and elephants and giraffes and drawing and sketching and painting and a host of other things that they're creating. And then I asked them, I said, now, have you ever looked at, one of the boys said he drew an owl. Have you ever looked at that owl and thought that that was Kevin? And they all giggled and they're like, no, Kevin only drew the owl, right? But the owl is not Kevin. And I said, yeah, absolutely. You've got it. Kids get it. That the creator and the created thing are different from one another. Very different. However, I asked him another question. And I asked him, is there anything when you look at the work of another student, another artist, do you think that that created thing, that piece of art that he or she created, can tell you something about the creator? And they all agreed, yes, that there's something that can be learned from the work of an artist. But they, again, all agreed that the work of an artist and the artist himself or herself is very different. So where am I going with this? Listen to this. This is from Wisdom 13. This is what the writer of Wisdom says. For from the greatness and the beauty of created things, their original author by analogy is seen. What is the wisdom writer getting at here? Is that when we see like a creature, let's just say another human being, and that creature is made in the image and likeness of God, and that creature is beautiful, and it's a beautiful woman and beautiful man, we should be able to see something of the original creator there, or the original artist, or the original author of life in that man or woman. By analogy, we should be able to see something of him. And if you read the whole passage, it goes further than that. And the wisdom author basically suggests this, is that creature will just stay with another human being that we find beautiful. That creature, not only should we be able to see something of God in him or her, their creator, but in fact, that person should help us by the way they live their life, by their words, by how they love, by how they are in relationship with us, by what they do with their life, and so on. That they should point us to the Creator rather than themselves. That they should facilitate our movement to the one who created them rather than stop our movement where we get stopped with them and stay only with them. And what I'm suggesting is this, is that I think what was true in the hundreds of years before Jesus Christ, when wisdom was written, the book of wisdom, is true for us today because, well, the same elements are at play, God and human beings. And God's still God, the creator, and we're still human, meaning even though we're made in the image and likeness of God, we're still a fallen race. And what can happen today is what happened back in the time of the author of wisdom literature. We can live our lives in such a way as human beings that we don't facilitate movement of the lives of other people closer to God through us. Like moms and dads can live their lives like this. Boyfriends and girlfriends is a good example, right? Or even just good friends, or people that we work with, people that we are close to, people that are important in our lives. That we can be in these relationships, and by the way we live our lives, by the way we love, by the way we're in relationships with them, by the way we treat them, like our patience, our mercy, our understanding, our forgiveness, our encouragement, and of course our beliefs and our values and our principles and our virtues. That by the way we live our lives, those things all facilitate a relationship with God, move those important people in our lives closer to God, or they do not. We don't live out a virtuous life, so our virtues don't draw people to God through us. We don't live out the pursuit of holiness, so our holiness doesn't draw other people through us to God. We don't practice charity or patience or understanding. We're not sacrificing our time for sitting in front of a person who needs us and just listening to them and loving them rather than judging them and trying to change them, right? By our words, we're not preaching the gospel, and by our actions, we're not giving good example to the gospel. And let's just go a step further. By our sins, by our brokenness, by our lust, by our greed, by our ego and our pride, we can be the cause by which a person stops with us rather than continues on to God. So the question then really comes to me, is do we recognize that we're creatures? Yes, I think we all do. Do we recognize that we were created by a creator? Yes, we do. Do we recognize that an artist put us together? I hope we do. Do we recognize that we are a beautiful piece of art that was created for a purpose? I don't know. I mean, I think there's days I forget that. I don't know about you. And we were created in the image and likeness of God. As the wisdom author says, for from the greatness and beauty of our created lives, our original author should be seen in us. And not just seen in us, but when people encounter us and are in a relationship with us, we should be the type of artist, the type of artwork, that when people see us, they're drawn to the artist. They want to know who created us. They want to know who filled us with this grace, who gave us this type of life, who helps us to live this way, that gave us this beauty, this greatness, this virtue, this just add in all that stuff that God can give to us. And then want to meet the one that created us. Rather than not recognizing our beauty, not recognizing our greatness, not recognizing that we're created in the image and likeness of God, and we were created for a purpose, and that was to live our life and our whole life, drawing people to Christ, right? Let me read that again. For from the greatness and the beauty of created things, their original author by analogy is seen. And not just seen, but he hopes that in others seeing God in us, we will be the ones who are facilitators of drawing people closer to God, rather than people coming to us and getting stuck with us, getting stuck with our beauty, getting stuck with our sin, getting stuck with what we offer them, getting stuck with the pleasure, the way we make them feel, what we do for them, and never be the ones who bring them further along than ourselves. Let me just put it plainly and we'll end with that. Can you imagine living our whole lives where either we or another person, we live our lives as if we're it, or if they're it. And then we live our relationships that way. And we look for everything that we hope for in this world in another person, where they do that with us. And then at the end of life, when we pass from this world, that's exactly what we end up with. Just ourselves. And worse, living for other people, we don't even end up with them. Right? We were made for so much more. And so were other people. And those other people were meant to bring us closer to God. And we were meant to be a people closer to God. And I think it's a moment like this where we reevaluate, we're called to reevaluate our relationships and how we are in relationships with others and the relationships we have with other people. And to look and to see if we are blocks for people growing closer to Christ, or if they're blocks for us. And then we bring all that to God in prayer, and we ask Him to start rearranging all that, and realigning that, and redrawing us, and repainting us, and redeeming us, and helping us to live our lives where, from the greatness and the beauty of who we are as creatures, others recognize the author, the artist, the creator in us, and are not remaining just with us, but through us are moving to Him. Until next time, friends.